sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thank you for joining us. It feels like we were just here yesterday. In fact, we were. Hey, thanks for joining us on the Terrific Tuesday's edition of Talk Today as we invite Dr. John to be a part of our discussion. Hey, give us a shout and share your thoughts. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. And of course, the phone line is open, but sometimes it's best to draw alongside and listen. Go through those who talk about, come, let us reason. Well, Dr. John, thank you for accepting the invitation. And as we have a chance to talk about health, through you, I would love the opportunity to encourage more of us as parents and educators as much as I can, as often as I can, to say to our children, you can look beyond the financial services or the tried and tested sort of career path that you think you might have to pursue, and perhaps at some point encourage people to look at the sciences, look at medicine, and maybe even consider whether they be a physician or some of the other related services, but that may come later on. Welcome, sir. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling.
No, I don't think there are very many people, if at all any, in this country that would not recognize either the name Dr. John, the face, or the voice, or having some point interactive with you, either on the tennis court or perhaps in your triage at some point. So share with us, at any point, if you want to talk a little bit about yourself, how long you've been here, and as an ENT, you've seen a lot of changes.
Yes, I have, and I have first to give my thanks to the country which has adopted me as their son. And I started as a young lad, you can say, who was a trained ENT at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I had to do everything in the hospital. At those days, it was basically a doctor designation. It was nothing like ENT or so forth.
Yeah.
So you had to cover everything from emergency to general clinics to all the way to the wards and everything. And then you had to do your ENT work.
So you were all.
so we were all. Yeah. But the benefit I gained out of that is the experience that I have gained.
Mm-hmm.
And the experience that you gain, leave the books aside. We all learn through the books initially.
Mm-hmm.
But every day's life, there is a learning process.
Mm-hmm.
And the best learning process actually comes from the patient itself. More you see, more you learn, and then you can write the same books again and again. And that's how the medicine evolves.
I'm glad you share that, because I think, and I'll be mindful, and it's just me observation, life's experiences. It's reading, but it's also my interest, and it's probably a growing belief system. Medicine, for instance, it's that interaction between the patient and the physician and supporting staff. And as I look at other jurisdictions, and increasingly here, are we inclined as patients to insist, well, I want the latest test. You don't have the latest technology, that piece of machinery. And at what point is that physical interaction and the...
Yeah, at that point, when and how much and what are the results? Those are the 3 points that will come out of the point that you have asked me.
Okay.
When again if you want to answer when to intervene and when to really ask the patients, actually comes from your knowledge, and that knowledge comes from how many patients you really gone through.
Okay.
When is the right time to really intervene? Could you leave this patient and not to incur unnecessary costs by investigating every day? And when do you expect the results to be the optimal when you intervene? These are some of the answers would come only. So if you really say that a newcomer, a new doctor in the field, there is always a tendency not to make a mistake, which is what we should be doing it, because we cannot make the mistake. So there is a tendency of over-investigating so that we don't really... But as you go through the processes again and again, you do realize that some of things we do probably not needed at this point. But that helps the patient cause. So I sometimes say that there is a definition of well-being of the patient. And the well-being of the patient is basically the physical, mental, and social well-being. Yeah. That is what we consider that WHO definition of the, well-being. So we also have a responsibility at some point not to stress the patient by overspending on the investigative procedures where the results may not be achieved. And that is probably the answer of your question that you had asked me. That how much the investigations are needed.
Right. And as I look at it, I'm thinking sometimes as well that I wonder how much is it that we, the patient or the patient's family dependent, given the maybe interpretation of the situation, how we think is transpiring, and then placing that insistence on the medical professional or the medical establishment for answers to do these things, and then how much of that request is influenced by maybe our travels or our lifestyles of the places, or even what we see in the media. There's the 1 hour emergency drama, and the doctors in the hospitals, and they're running around and they have all sorts of things, and between commercials breaks, they've solved all the issues, and the patient is all well. Expectation and reality.
Well, that's a good question. The question is that the Cayman Island is a very small society, the number of people that we have, but at the same time, it's a very diversified society. And we have a different level of the class culture here. And we have a different level of the ability to resource whatever, one wants. And the comparison is a very mighty country, which is very high in the science and the development and all the research, which is next door to us is United States, right? Yeah. So we have to be at in some ways at par what we are providing here. And I have to say that when I came and what we are today, we are not far away from those kind of treatments that we are providing here in the Cayman Islands. But the issue here again comes is the comparison and the patient's expectations, which is what your question is. To me, I think partly it is also lies with the confidence in the doctor. So if you, as Mr. Sterling, my patient, if you feel that you have confidence in me, what I'm telling you, you would be satisfied. But if you are really having a doctor, or if you have a relationship with a doctor where you're not confident enough, there would always be a desire to take a second opinion. There would always be a desire to go through investigative procedures. And that is where I think we need to really develop that patient-doctor relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that is paramount. And if we develop that relationship, I think we can unnecessarily cut down the cost of unnecessary investigative procedures or sending the patient one to another.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what is required at this point.
That confidence that we as patients would have in our healthcare providers, I think there may have been a perspective that, days gone by, you started seeing a physician, you had that ongoing relationship, you understood, the dynamic. Then as a physician, you got my words, the history, literally, over the years, you maybe met more of the family. When we come after, let me be respectful to the break. When we come back, let's ask about that. How has medicine changed over the years? And that perception, that relationship that we see in some jurisdictions where you come in, you see a physician about this thing, you come back, you may get another physician, perhaps in the same specialty, but you don't see the same ENT. You don't see Dr. Jha each time. You see Dr. Ebanks this time, and Dr. Borden, then Dr. Jackson, but they're all within the specialty. And to what extent has that changed, and maybe what the possible consequence?
Well, that has definitely changed.
Mm-hmm.
And that has changed because of the reason that, at least at the HSA level,
mm-hmm.
that appointments are not in my control.
Mm-hmm.
They are not in doctor's control. Appointments are made somewhere else. So when the patients are calling, they are calling for a surgery appointment. So whomsoever is available for,
mm-hmm.
Appointments are given to those. So there may be possibility unless the patient desires to really have a specific doctor for the appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And they may say, well, the appointment is far away or something, and then patient end up changing the doctor. And you are totally right. Jumping from one doctor to another sometimes is actually not desirous.
Mm.
That allows us to end up making a little more mistakes, because the continuity of follow-ups, we know what we saw in the last time and what we'll be seeing next time, or what has changed during. So that is why I always said to the patient that try to keep one doctor rather than changing, and whomsoever you can find and whomsoever you have a confidence in, that will bring the better results.
Would make sense. You get to understand what is happening.
Yeah, I say the same thing for any profession. When you do the same thing again and again and repetitively, you would do better than the person whom you think is, better, but the results would be better for the person who's doing the same thing again and again.
All right. Well, when you come after the break, if you would be okay, maybe you can talk more about the practice of ENT. You can share about a lot of things.
Yes.
Not only you have a tennis and in the garden, but you have an intellect. And I think as we talk more, maybe it'll demystify this whole approach to medicine and ENT. Maybe it'll make people understand the importance of that personal dynamic.
I would be happy to, yes.
All right. We'll pause and take that break, and when we come back, please rejoin us.
Coming up this Friday night, August 19th, the South Coast Bar and Grill in Breakers for the 4th annual Cayman Night. Live entertainment will be by a host of local musicians, including Rexy and the Impulse Band. You don't want to miss this exciting fete, playing soca, calypso, merengue, country, soul, and reggae music live with a host of local musicians, including Rexy and the Impulse Band and DJ Archie from Unit Force Disco. Admission is by donations at the door. Music starts 8 p.m. until 2 a.m. this Friday, August 19th at South Coast Bar and Grill. Proceeds will be donated to all primary schools to assist with the purchase of musical instruments.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day.
Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Back to school. Education is knowing the best back-to-school specials are at Reflections. Step into savings with up to 50% off selected footwear brands. Buy one pair and get the second pair of back-to-school shoes at 25% off. Save 50% off on all U.S. Polo handbags and backpacks. Ladies, don't miss the amazing daily deals in the clearance section on special selected women's fashions. Keep it classic with Levi jeans in a wide variety of styles and sizes from 28 to 48. And for the freshest gear, check out the new stock of Nike, Puma, Adidas, Johnny Cotton, and more. The best back-to-school savings are at Reflections. Find them on Shedden Road beside the mango tree. Open daily from 9 a.m. till after dark.
We'll be the coolest kids in school.
Cayman trees. They're marvelous, ingrained in our heritage. Did you know in the 1900s we were a major exporter of coconuts? More than 1 million per year. Of course, we know about our silver thatch, used for everything from roofs to brooms to hats and mats, and of course, rope. To celebrate Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, you are invited to plant a tree for the Jubilee. Let us reseed our heritage in our soil. Join your neighbors for the Queen's Green Canopy and plant 1, 2, 3, or more of our native endemic or fruit-bearing trees. Register your tree and leave your green print at www.gov.ky/National Tree Planting or follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Plant a tree for the Jubilee. Proudly brought to you by the Cayman Islands Government Ministry for Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. Let's green Cayman now.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And honored to have the excellent company of Dr. Jah to share with us. Many of us know him as the ENT over at the HSA, and sitting in a capacity as a physician, but as someone you say, adopted son of the soil. And not only I think as a country adopted you, but you and your family have adopted us as well. And this is where we have increasingly, to see the importance of bringing all of us together collectively to unite, to celebrate, and as we share, we move the country forward in a very positive way, building that social harmony. This is awesome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
As we were going into the break, though, I was asking some of those things, and I'm thinking that from a perspective as a patient, sometimes we are impatient. We come in and, what do you mean I got to wait? Well, the patient before you is hopefully getting the attention that you'd want, and we have that sort of deal with. But then if we are, because of insurance or the system that is in, you see physician A one time, physician B another time. We're talking about what's that dynamic and how that medicine has changed?
Well, it's true that there are certain conditions where the patient cannot wait too long.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is a desire of the patient to be, accepted quick enough into the, whether it's a general practice or emergency or any specialist that they want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do we achieve that? Because right now what has happened is the Cineco is the biggest provider on the island. Mm. And the Cineco basically goes through the HSA. And obviously the HSA is overwhelmed by the appointment system and so forth. So there are patients who always come and ask this question, how can we see you early? Because the appointments they are getting is like 6 weeks or 8 weeks away from.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we achieve that? Well, in my case, I now work part-time with the HSA, which allows me to have extra days outside to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I provide 1 or 2 days or 3 days, whatever is available, and sometime on the weekends like Saturday. Just clinic there so that those who really need to see on an urgent basis any interrelated ailment, I can see them there. But if that kind of system should prevail, I think so. There is a possibility that one should and the decision makers should really come out, and so that this delay in the seeing the patient is not there, and the frustration of the patient, which may not be directly the disease related, but sometimes it's you can say, well, they feel social unjust that they have a condition and they want to see a doctor and they don't have access to see a doctor.
Yeah, I'm inclined to do some further reading on what I see France, according to media accounts, is doing, what they're trying relative to how they're allocating their physicians in certain areas and in certain specialties, and how the patients. I don't feel confident enough to say, well, I understand what they're doing, but it's intriguing to see how they're taking, from what I've understood, medicine and delivery of medical services, almost as if they're using any other commodity and applying the same approach. Now, maybe that'll work once I read it, but I don't know if anyone out there is familiar with it, whether you are as well, but interesting to see how we're looking at changing the delivery of medicine.
Yeah, I think it has to come eventually, whether we adopt a Canadian system that we have one universal insurance and which has one universal price, and all the doctors, whether they are private in the hospital, everybody is just paid accordingly. And that allows the patient to go outside or in the HSA or wherever they want to see. It's the one system working for all. And if there are patients who really feel that they need to have a private insurance, which is there also in Canada, they can have that one. But this will really unify the whole healthcare system. And then we can, next level can be really a issue of resourcing it or sourcing how much funding is required. You know, and I know that one of the biggest resources we really get is from the work permits and those who are renewed and everywhere. It's possible that they should really look at it, whether the health insurance should be tagged to the renewal of the work permit time, and how much is required, and that can be reviewed on every 2 to 3 years basis, so that the society doesn't get overwhelmed by the cost of the healthcare.
And this is where, when you look at, say, financial, data or accounting information, if you exclude the economics of things, the social aspects and the implications of what we're doing, healthcare, education, they can be significant bites in an individual budget as they can be in a national budget. But you're talking about the Canadian system. I understand within the UK under their system, you have the national insurance, but you can also get private insurance as well to complement or supplement however you use it. So that sort of exists as well.
Yeah, but national insurance is universal. Right now, we don't have that here. So that can be made mandatory so that we have a...
We have, from speaking to people, a system very much like what they have in the US that seems to create a perception among some that if you have good insurance, you can get good health care. And if you happen to fall within inadequate health insurance, then you're at the mercy of the physician, the hospital, or the government.
Well, that part I'm not sure whether I will agree on it. Yes, you can jump from institution to institution, but not necessarily that will, you'll get a better results.
And with that, I'm inclined to ask, we, as you said at the outset, when you first came, you were a doctor. And as a doctor, you were everything that a doctor was supposed to be in every aspect. Now we're seeing, maybe because of the increased demand or because of the increased population, physicians are able to specialize. Back then you went to one doctor if you had a problem with your leg or your heart or whichever.
Actually, I give credit to the country for that, because what I learned, and I learned a lot, and I learned one thing is that I see the patient in toto. I do not see the patient that, oh, you are a ENT, I just have to look at ear, nose, and throat. And that came from because I had to really see the patient in ER and in GP and everything. And that has the whole psyche of seeing the patient in my mind is a different concept. And you wouldn't believe that sometime through the ENT I end up finding the other problems in the patient, because I try to see the patient in total, and that helps.
So after this next break, let's ask about ENT. What is an ENT? When as a patient would we be referred or need to come to see an ENT? And the like.
So actually, let me say, like, we just talk, I'm going to give you a little more, like a simplest way. The ENT, ear, nose, and throat, we talk about in the schools, we have a special sensory systems. And out of those 5, actually, ENT has 3. So we have the skin, we have the eyes, we have a nose, we have a throat, and we have a tongue, right? So the ears, nose, the smell, the tongue is the taste. These are 3 special sensory. And then we have a skin and we have the eye. So what exactly the function of these things? Actually, in the evolutionary phase of the life, if you really think, the main function is actually survival. Right? So sometimes people say that, well, ear is a function of hearing. No, actually, ear is a function of balancing. So if you really compare of any creature in the sea or anything, they don't have a ear, like shark doesn't have a hearing, but they have a balance. So balance is paramount to really get to your food, paramount to really catch your food, whatever is required. If the lion doesn't have a balance, can't really find its mate, right? So the balance is the primary function, and what evolved our hearing is a more evolved function, right? Same way, the smell basically tells us that what you can really have, what you cannot have it, what is more harmful, and what you have to move away in a breathing phase of, Same way, the tongue, all these functions are basically to create a survival. But obviously, as the time evolved, we start getting into the other issues related to, as the society evolved into it. And now, if you really go specifically, I end up seeing the patients who have more issues with the dizziness or the hearing issues and so forth. And then there are some issues which are more urgent basis, like pain and some other related issue, discharge and so forth. So some of the issues the patients ignore, some of the issues they really think, it needs attention.
And I guess as you spoke of the balance or the hearing, I'm gathering that those could be other underlying issues that are causing that thing to occur. So if you really go to the balance, obviously that what we call as a vestibular system of the ear, it basically controls the 2 aspects of the balance. One is the angular motion, and one is what we call as a linear motion. And those 2 motions are basically put together. And then you have two ears, and it keeps sending the signal what is the position of your head. And where is the movement of the head. And when that is all aligned, we know that I can walk, I'm sitting, I'm standing, all this thing. But when that go like a distorted phase, the brain starts sending this, getting the signal in a different ways. That is where the brain says that though I'm sitting, but the brain feels that you're lying, or or you are spinning, or you are going to fall forward. Though you're straight, but you feel like you're going to fall forward. And that is where the attention is needed. We as you said, I hear the word vertigo. Anyone say, the doctor says I have vertigo. And
so the vertigo is basically, you can say, just a medical terminology. It's not a diagnosis. Okay. So the diagnosis is what actually is causing the vertigo.
And that could be an infection?
So it could be some sort of viral, it could be immunological, or it could be some space-occupying lesion. All these things, and that is require attention.
I like how you said
it could be simple. If it is the simplest thing, I just sometimes tell the patient, okay, we'll wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then we review it again.
Yeah. And then to determine, like you said, what is causing the vertigo. I like you say, the space-occupying lesion.
Yeah.
I like how you put that. That could be a number of things.
Well, yeah, that basically means that we are talking about interruption of the pathways from the ear to the brain.
That could be anything, huh?
And that could be anything, whether there is a pressure onto the nerve through some tumor, or it could be, some other pressure like the swollen nerve or whatever the reason is.
And as you share now, I think too many of us as patients, we're busy. This thing doesn't seem to be that debilitating. We don't seem to pay great attention to it because we can still function. We feel a little bit uncomfortable. Let's take, what even we've self-diagnosed. Oh, just vertigo. Have a little imbalance, just make sure. And we ignore it to our detriment sometimes, huh? Because it could be a simple thing that becomes...
Yeah, so, those three things that in my first part of the talk I said when and how much and what are the results. Actually, that's where the whole thing lies in, right?
Yeah.
I try not to over-investigate the patients. And that confidence I gained because of my years of the practice.
Right.
And then once you know how much you can also quantify that, okay, when you do XYZ or so, we would get a optimal, findings that we can guide the patient accordingly. And that provides basically the results that, we are expecting. But if we come across something that requires immediate intervention or so, that is the time that patient can be conveyed about. But I think the whole medicine which I have learned, the results are optimal and you can provide the good results if you understand the timing.
Okay.
When to intervene, when to catch the disease, so that we know. Sometimes we just delay the whole process of investigating, and we lose time.
But then that's two parts, right? One, as the patient, the person who's feeling this thing, we need to come to the physician and say, listen, I've had this, whatever it is, I don't know what it is, this is how I feel it. We need to be kind of timely as well, and making sure that we get to the physician, even if there's a delay in the appointment, but that we get there at an appropriate time.
And that is obviously is a right concern you have. I think sometimes the files of the patient get bogged down in the administrative procedures, and that needs to be looked into. Okay. That is my, I think, sincere opinion.
And this is where hopefully we've alluded to it, but this is where public discussion amongst the community, so perhaps the policymakers, to make sure that we allocate the resources so that there is sufficient social investment, for one of the access to healthcare and education with focus on healthcare. But as a populace, that we have an ethos that you don't run into the doctor every, as they say, every turn around, but you're not so reticent to go because you don't have the money, the health insurance, or because the system doesn't seem to be conducive to seeing you. How do we inculcate within a society that ethos that we provide the necessary funding for healthcare, but as a populace we value our well-being? What do you said? The physical, the spiritual, and the social, the emotional. We value the well-being, so that if it's a little cut, we get it taken care of. If it's ignored, it could become even sepsis could set in at some point. And I don't know. Miss Susan's telling a break. News is far away. Let's just keep chatting. Can we do that? Yeah. Then go and come back. Yeah. Let's keep talking. How do we do that? How do we take We got the news in about 6 minutes, so let's see what we can take a break in 4 and get there. Take another 3 minutes.
Okay.
How do we get there? And that's probably more, I don't want it to be an esoteric discussion or a question at all, but how do we get that within our people that we have health and wellness and the well-being?
Okay, I would start that health education should be a paramount, starting all the way from the primary to the high school or whatever that we should realize. There should be at least once a week or something like that. You have sports, you should have some sort of health class, right? And there are some preventive measures and some sort of emergency measures, some sort of the dressing measures, where to, and they should learn those small procedures so that they don't have to really overburden the system by really coming to emergency for little things. They don't have to really delay the processes so that the disease gets bigger unnecessarily. So we can start those little things. Right now we're just emphasizing, vaccine and so forth and the tooth care and all that. But all those things require somebody else's hand to really provide. I think that at the school level, we have like a craft classes. We have students should be doing certain things of their own. How to dress a wound, what can we use, what antiseptics do we use. When you get these kind of little training at the school level, a lot of things can be done at the home level, right? And we unnecessarily avoid catching it infected, and then it get infected, and then you become a diabetic, and then it gets to a situation. So these are the things which can be done at the level, and that can have a direct implication on the cost on the society.
As you saying that, I'm thinking life skills. Necessary life skills. For those of us who learned CPR in school, is probably under the Duke of Edinburgh or some other program. Perhaps this could just be part of everything. The cost is also significantly reduced.
Well, everything eventually, when you really take it all the way from the whole over the world. So it starts from India, Africa, United States. The whole delivery is tied to somewhere at the cost level. So the Africa couldn't afford the cost, so their delivery system is poor, right? Cayman is lucky in that way that we have the resources available. And only thing that we really have to look how these resources going to be used in the future.
The allocation.
That is our question right now. Right now we are okay, we are self-sufficient and everything. But escalating the cost of the healthcare is going to be an issue in coming years.
If you stave off that. We create, as you were sharing, perhaps even more interest among students into, just generally speaking, into medicine, different aspects of it, because they introduced earlier. We reduce the cost. We increase the approach to a healthy lifestyle, a healthy body and mind. We give people the skill sets to, how many of us were in school and there was always somebody, a teacher, but sometimes a student who had a little bit of an inkling about, we got paper cuts, we got little things and scrapes in school. That person could help. They weren't playing a doctor, but they could help. So if we do that en masse.
So just little things will unnecessary, avoid the complication,
Maybe we'll expand on that. All right. 949-8037. We got a news break coming up. Dr. Job, when we come back, we can continue the discussion. 1-800-534-TALK is the floor toll-free line. And we'll revisit that topic. But let's also ask about encouraging the patient to don't ignore certain things. And this may be where you reach out to the ENT and speak to Dr. Job. All right, let's pause and take that break. And when we come back, more talk today.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
a caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Breitling watches are defined by quality, innovation, and style. And you have the chance to win one in August during Kirk Freeport's 50th anniversary sweepstakes. Each month, lucky shoppers have the chance to win a piece of jewelry or a watch from luxury brands. Every purchase of $100 at any Kirk Freeport store gains you entry into the monthly drawing. So stop in today. Next up, September's prize is the Chopard Happy Dreams bracelet. View terms and conditions on KirkFreeport.com.
As the community continues to take precautions from COVID-19, it is important to stay prepared for other disasters now that we're in the hurricane season. Here are some post-hurricane safety tips from the Department of Environmental Health. Cistern water designated for the purposes of drinking, cooking, and bathing must be disinfected before use after a hurricane. Simply leave the water for 1 minute after it begins to boil, or to disinfect with bleach, add 3 ounces of chlorine bleach to every 1,000 gallons of water. A residual bleach smell is an indicator that the water has been properly disinfected. For full guidance on post-hurricane safety tips, visit www.deh.gov.ky. Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
Let's read the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. Workforce Opportunities and Residence Cayman notifies patrons that the standalone payment portal on the work website has recently been upgraded, meaning applications can now be uploaded at the time of payment. This new feature is to provide a more concise way of submitting and paying for applications. For more information, call 945-9672, email work@gov.ky, or visit work.ky for payment instructions. In international news, a week after an apparent Ukrainian attack on a Russian military base in occupied Crimea, an arms store at another military facility has been hit by a series of explosions. Blaming sabotage, Russian officials said a fire triggered the blasts in the area, another fire hit a power station, and a railway was damaged. A string of blasts last week destroyed Russian warplanes at a Black Sea base on the Crimean coast. Ukraine has not admitted that attack. Actor Ezra Miller, who plays the Flash in DC Comics films, has begun treatment for complex mental health issues. In a statement, the non-binary star apologized to those they had alarmed and upset with their recent behavior. Miller was recently charged over an alleged burglary in Vermont and has been arrested twice in Hawaii. Their statement to film site Variety comes amid uncertainty over whether the controversies will affect the planned 2023 release of the film The Flash. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
They say that when it hits you, it hits you. A feeling so strong that it's impossible not to give in to. A juicy piece of KFC. To feel elevated by the aroma, and to free fall into its exciting flavor. Some call it love, attraction, desire. We call it KFC. Ignite your senses with KFC.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointments.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments from September 1st till September 8th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited, whether you're seeking advanced skin care, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles. Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.portercayman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointments today. That is 946-9020.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thanks for joining us, and thanks to the Dr. Jah for sharing with us. And if you have a question, you want to be a part of the discussion, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. I think a lot of us know you, have been to you, and you've been, I don't want to say a fixture, but you've been here for a while. And I want to say that they shared that at the outset you said you're sort of within the HSA sometimes and part-time, I think was the phrase you used. So that means you have some other part of the time that you're elsewhere. If we wanted to see you at HSA, we go through the appointments. If you want to see you privately in your practice, we could do that as well.
Yes, you can. I have an office at the Total Health now, and the access to that is very simple. Just
Total Health?
Yeah, Total Health, yeah.
Right.
And I'm available if most of the time there, like after I finish my HSA work.
Okay. When, and as I'm trying to encourage more of us, you said it at the outset, spiritual, physical, mental, and I'll put emotional, social. We need to look at our well-being and have our health to be not just that thing that we look at because we feel an ache or we've injured ourselves, walking, exercising, but look at it completely. And as you shared, sometimes the ENT can, what do you say, the senses, you touch and concern, all of them, including the skin. All right, let's go back to that. We come to the ENT. Timing was important, not only for when we present ourselves, but also when you, as the ENT, you do the intervention. Let's go back. When should we come to see a physician, but ENT specifically? Because many of us, and I was referring to vertigo, we feel a little unbalanced, so it's no big deal, we can still function. But there may be other things that we ignore, they fester, and what was a simple thing that would become worse because of our unwillingness or fear, or delay. When would be the time that we should come?
Yeah, so the question basically you ask is like overreach or underreach to the doctor, right?
Yeah.
So, and that is where I think the education comes important. I always tell the patients that you are the best doctor for yourself.
Okay.
Right? You have to learn how your body behaves, and you have to understand when is the time to really get the attention and when you can ignore. Right?
Okay.
And that is very important. Some patients have those abilities, some may not have it. So in a simplest question that you were talking about, the word dizziness or vertigo, there are some acute event and there are some chronicity of the problem. And we have to understand that. If there is an acute event and if you really see that, okay, it lasted for a day or two and then it is resolved, it may be the case, but it may not be requiring urgent attention because it has resolved. But just on a screening basis, it would be wise to really, whether it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks, really get at least the ears out of the position screened out that, okay, it is not, issue that is going to be a chronic, or is not an issue which is pinning something going on inside. So that is, in a simplest way, I would say like that. Mm-hmm. But the acute phase of the condition, most of the patients end up going to the emergency anyway. Yeah. So that is resolved. But other conditions like nose and the throat and so forth, I would just take you to a little anatomy of the nose, right, which may be good for the patient to understand. Any part of the body which is exposed to the outside atmosphere is being protected with some sort of the layer of a secretion. Okay, so that is there. So your nose is covered with some secretions, your throat is covered with some secretion, your chest and your breathing passage, your lungs, all are covered with some sort of secretion. In that area we call all mucus, right? Upper part, lower part, every part of the body which is get exposed to your skin is exposed to the outside, so it has a sweat and some oily part into it, right? So everything is just covered. When there is a deficiency of those secretions, that is where the invaders want to get in. Okay. So the aim is to really allow those secretions to prevail. So the mucus has to remain healthy. And that lifestyle that you really provide and you go through every day, you should make sure that you have proper hydration. You're not really sitting all the time into the conditioned room, because that slows down the whole process of these secretions. You have to go through some exercise routines. We are lucky that we have sea all around us, but how many of us make use of it? That improves the ciliary activity. We call that the membrane that we have. So it's almost like a cantilever belt which is running over to these cilia, which we call is a technical name, but I wouldn't worry about that. So, and that mucus blanket keeps changing every 30 minutes. And that is a defense that we provide through the lungs, through the nose, all the way to the sinuses and so forth.
And as you share, I think, we're comfortable in air-conditioned cars and homes and work. And sweating, not just through physical exercise, but just the heat, that exertion, that's actually cleansing, that's actually healthy.
It is very. Actually, what it does is, in a natural system that the body has, it demands the body to produce, which is more in the sedentary phase. It stalls in a comfort zone. So when you go through some sort of exertional exercises, or what we call as cardio, it demands the body to release, produce more secretions. Why? Because your breathing pattern has increased, and when your breathing pattern is increasing, you have to condition the air more, so you have to secrete more. You have to have more oxygen going into your lung, so your nasal passages have to open more, So everything actually, and then we are releasing certain hormones which we consider as a healing hormone, like cortisols and so forth. We are releasing adrenaline, which basically sometimes the doctors end up giving to the patient so that they can breathe a little better. So,
as you shared, Dr. John, I'm thinking that if we were to compare say today's lifestyle with 50 years or 100 years ago, air conditioning versus no air conditioning, our mobility, we were sitting there now, then we had to move, and was probably either walking or riding. So we're doing a lot more. And when we ask, why were people seemingly healthier in the absence of diseases and the like? Well, we say their foods, but also their lifestyle. Just something as simple as getting some fresh air, going into the sea, sweating.
No, that is actually, it is very helpful. Very helpful.
But then when we think back now to what we're at, and we come into the ENT as you were sharing, for some of us, we don't even know. It's mostly our ears or bothering us, or we feel something in our throat. You've shared that as an ENT, you can discover other things that is plaguing the person, and those are the underlying things that are causing now the manifestation of that discomfort that we're having in our eyes, or our ears and our nose and our throat. The connection though of it. How many of us have had something, we're eating and we can feel it going down through our noses and our throats? So that connection there.
No, everything is basically interlinked. This body is a very the God has created this body, which is will take years and years, hundreds of years before we really understand it fully. So, but it is definitely everything is interlinked. You wouldn't realize that. What is the function of the larynx?
Yeah.
In the simplest way, people will say, we phonate, right?
Yeah.
To me, that's not the function of the larynx. The function of the larynx is the protection of the airway. Right?
We see it
because without that protection, you cannot survive. Everything will start going into your lung. How long you put your so it is a very nice sphincteric mechanism where the walls and everything are so controlled, and you can think the best of the sensors are available in that area. And it directs the food and your saliva and everything into the right passage. And it doesn't allow anything to come into that area. And when that area gets compromised, for whatever the reasons, if the patient got a stroke or paralyzed or whatever, or injury, whatever, or if there is a severe infections and things like those, or if there is a paralysis of the cords and things like those, all those things get affected, and the patients start aspirating, and that is one of the issues that we encounter in the elderly patients who end up having a problem, because those sensory mechanisms in the larynx start getting affected because of aging, because of some sort of the strokes and so forth, and then they become more debilitating to the point that they just keep having the pneumonias and things like those. The phonation is obviously a function which evolved.
And Dr. Giles, we were speaking, got a couple of perhaps messages to ask you, but let me ask, how can we protect? What are the things we can do to sort of protect our, our ears, our nose, and our throat, our tongue even? But what things are we doing that could be harming or hindering or somehow causing some sort of potential negative consequence?
Yeah, so if I start from the ears, I think this tendency to use the Q-tips is not a right approach. The nature has allows us to form the wax. So if you really think that I explained in the simplest way, what do you put on your car skin? You try to wax it, right? The nature has given the wax in the ear for the same reason. It tries to protect your ears so that it doesn't really get affected by the moisture inside the ear. But there is a tendency of cleaning ears every day with the Q-tip. That's not a good habit.
But many of us do it.
Yeah, so that's... So this is what we call as a civilized world. Sometimes a disease is created by the civilized world. It's like... So that is actually not really needed. Yes, you need to mop your ears, the water. You can use some sort of soft cloths and so forth and clean all outside creases of the ear and so forth, so there is no wax showing and all that. The same way in the nose, obviously, using of, I'm talking about all these things that people think are good. Breathing in or inhaling too much of these stimulants like Vicks and things like, and using those things, sticks and so forth, is not a good idea. Using the decongestion drops for a very long period of time is not a good idea, because it creates another condition, we call it rhinitis medicamentosa and so forth. So in the throat issue, obviously, having the drinks or having the sodas and all that is not a good idea, because you just acidify your throat most of the time.
So what we're drinking?
Water is the best solution.
Well, we see water as being flavored with things now and add different additives to water.
Yeah, and to me, I think the water is... and I'm promoting the Cayman water, like the the water we get in our tap is the best water.
Mm-hmm.
All you really have to do is add a little filter and take the chlorine out of it or whatever it is. And it's the best water you can drink and drink all day around. I think that's the best water you can have.
You were referencing the ears and the Q-tips, and I think many of us probably heard the physicians say if it's don't put nothing smaller than your elbow into your ear, meaning that you can't fit there, so don't put anything in the ear.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But irrigation, we know that some people will go. What is that, and why is that something we should do?
Well, in my opinion, it's not really needed.
Okay.
It's not a natural phenomenon for the body. So all these mechanisms like douching, irrigating, all these things are, what it does is basically takes away those natural secretions out of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do it too much, it basically start affecting the defense mechanism of those areas.
Okay.
So nature, this body is millions and millions of year of making. If we think in 50 years or 100 years we're going to find the answer, it's not true. So
I like how you put it in a civilized world. We we use something to clean the ears because unsightly.
Yeah.
But then those secretions.
Then we overreach and they go inside the ear canal and all that. That's not really.
All right.
And not only that, I end up seeing a lot of trauma patient because of the Q-tip inside, and somebody end up touching the hand or the hand touch somewhere else and just traumatize the ear.
Mm-hmm.
So all those things can be unnecessary avoid.
But and I hope not to make anyone uncomfortable. But I think we all do this. We find some way to clean our ears. Some people more often than others, and some perhaps more vigorous. You were saying to us, don't be careful. We don't damage, but. That earwax, I don't know what else you call it, that's in our ears and we want it out because it's unsightly within a civilized world. Is that a protective measure? I just want to understand, is that a necessary, does that come from the secretions? Or?
Yeah, so these secretions are necessary. Why? Mm-hmm. Because ear canal is a cul-de-sac.
Mm-hmm.
And because the cul-de-sac is the incubator.
Okay.
It's the incubator for the bacteria to grow. So when... So there has to be some sort of countering that growth of the bacteria. So the cerumen or the wax, we call it, it has antiseptic properties. It has antibacterial properties.
Huh.
Okay. And it is also protecting the skin not to get irritated by providing a waxy layer to the skin. And all those three things we just remove once we clean it too much.
I was just thinking, and as you said that, some of my work sometimes. If possibly a person, let me ask then, if a person all of a sudden notice that they seem to find more wax, what's the medical term for it? What's the word? You didn't recognize it. In their ears, right? That they normally don't. Could that potentially be that the body is producing more?
Yeah, so that is obviously a little abnormal, right? And when too much of the wax is being produced is abnormal. I think it is wise to at that point to seek the attention of a doctor, to really see what exactly causing that. So why the wax is produced again in an ample amount could be that there is some irritant, whether there is more bacteria or whether there is a fungus inside the ear, which is causing the ear to create more defensive mechanism into the ear and forming these wax. Or the ear has lost the ability to clean itself. All these things but patient may not have the answer for those things.
And this is where you shared, Dr. Jha, that we are our best doctors, right? We need to be our strongest advocates for our own health, knowing and being conscious of what's happening in us, and then reaching out, that overreach and underreach. At that point, if there's a change that concerns us or is noticeable, speak out to our physicians and say, this is what's happening. The example with the wax, if you're not a person who has a lot and all of a sudden you seem to be bothered with it, maybe that's an indication of something the body is trying to tell you.
Well, that's true.
Okay.
That's true. If you are producing too much, then there is something that you have to. And at that point, whether you need to change the pH of the ear or so, and that is where the doctor's, attention is required.
I guess it comes down then to us looking at our lifestyles and what we expose. Now, many of us, in this show, I wear these earphones. I don't like it. We see many of us having, music or something on and some device in our ears. There are warnings on the packages. I don't know if we read them, if we understand them, if we actually follow. Is there anything you can tell us about that? I mean, is that a good thing?
Well, this is a evolving area right now, and we will know the answer in coming 30, 40 years,
like a doctor.
when you will have a load of statistical data presented to the medical fraternity to really see what has really caused this problem, or there is no problem, right?
Yeah.
But in the recent past, I saw some of the patients who were using these when we have a cell phone with the microwaves and so forth, they started coming. Mm-hmm. Some of the patients had the issues that they were having bringing the cell phone near to their ears, and they were having the issues. Either they will go into some sort of the muscular spasm, or they will have the ringing in the ear and so forth. And the ringing actually is a big problem in the society too. If you really say 20% of the people in any society, somewhere or other, they encounter the ringing in their ears.
Okay. Is that tinnitus we call?
Yeah, we call it tinnitus, yeah.
What can we do about that?
Well, that is where the 80 to 90%, I would say 85 to 90% of the patient do not require much, as long as they understand. And they also learn to ignore it.
Yeah.
Yes. They encounter on and off. We don't have to worry about. But 5 to 10% of those require some sort of attention, whether it is the cause of some sort of ongoing processes.
Okay. And maybe do we know what would cause that? The ringing in their ears?
So in the best way I can explain that is only the injured person would make the sound. So it's the cry of the injured cell. Why that cell in the inner ear got injured, that does need to be really the answer that the doctors have to find.
And I think as you shared too, as we look at our, winding up our discussion, many of us cope with that. We get used to it. We find that a little background noise, or music or something helps. We find different things, and we live with it because we don't believe there's any hope for it. Is there people who have that ringing in their ears? If the percentage is high, what can they do about it?
Well, a lot of work is being done into that area, and a lot of alternative medicine is gone into that area. And the experiences of the patients are also being tied into it. And I have to tell you, some patients, what I end up giving the medication, say, well, it works. Some patients say it didn't work. But key actually here is that as long as we do not miss the diagnosis, which can have the fatal outcome, we should avoid that. But issues that if you can live it, something called biofeedback, adaptation. Yeah. When the patient learns to live and doesn't really affect him in day-to-day life, that could be one of the answers for that. And other medication and alternate medication, and everybody comes out with certain answers and so forth. I would say, well, try it out.
Practice, right?
Yes.
That's what it is.
And then I sometimes say, well, if you have the answer, tell me. I will just give it to them.
Again, you as a patient, you're the best physician. You pay attention to you, and you be your best advocate for you.
No, one thing I learned is there is no ego when you are treating a patient. Anybody who can really advise me about my patient, I'm always open to it. I can gather as much information and as many consults if the patient requires. And I'm happy to really send if they really feel that there is a better person. So that I have learned. And that I have learned because I put myself as a patient first. I understand the patient's psyche and the desire that what they have, which is genuine. And the aim should be to really just provide the best to the patient.
Well, thank you for that, Dr. John. Hopefully, maybe in the next discussion, if you have time, we can talk more about like the bigger picture.
Well, I will be happy.
All right. Always appreciate having your company. And at HSA or at Total Health,
yeah,
want to reach out to you?
At HSA or Total Health, both.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you're still a young man. You don't think you've aged much?
Well, I have to keep my mind active.
as we all should,
And I still physically active. I try to play tennis twice a week or so that
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You set a good example for us, and I
Yes.
think this is what shows when we can enjoy and make sure those years are indeed golden, and not spend all our lives just by the desk doing nothing, huh?
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, Dr. Jha. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for inviting me. Okay.
Well, hopefully he'll accept the invitation to come back on again, and then we'll talk a little bit more. We're going to pause now. When we come back, Nobi is going to sit in with us, hopefully. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
I love this bar.
Coming up this Friday night, August 19th, the South Coast Bar and Grill in Breakers for the 4th annual Cayman Night. Live entertainment will be by a host of local musicians, including Rexy and the Impulse Band. You don't want to miss this exciting fete, playing soca, calypso, merengue, country, soul, and reggae music live with a host of local musicians, including Rexy and the Impulse Band and DJ Archie from Unit Force Disco. Admission is by donations at the door. Music starts 8 p.m. until 2 a.m. this Friday, August 19th at South Coast Bar and Grill. Proceeds will be donated to all primary schools to assist with the purchase of musical instruments.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location. ValueMed on Walkers Road or Town. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
The Health Services Authority's new pharmacy is now open at the Smith Road Medical Center. The new location features a large, comfortable waiting area and ticketing system to improve the patient experience. All uncollected prescriptions and refill requests previously submitted will now be available for collection at the Smith Road Pharmacy. Request your refills online at hsa.ky via WhatsApp 925-6532 or call 244-2715. For more information about our pharmacy hours, visit hsa.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back and thanks for joining us. Nobi's going to sit with us in a bit. Shane Nobi Edwards. He made a drive all the way from East End. What a scenic drive. I think those who come that way would probably share, man, it's a long drive because of the traffic. But the one saving grace that I think they have over the rest of us, they get to see the beautiful vista. And maybe preserving the shoreline and loving those scenic views would be something that we should strongly take on board to ensure that we don't do along the scenic coast what has happened along 7 Mile Beach. So as Nobi draws up a chair and sits near, maybe we can talk about the things that are, what we say, dear to the hearts of many. I was just saying, you're making a long drive in from east, but at least you get to see the sea and the wonderful shoreline from time to time. We can't see that no more going into the west.
Yeah, and then they say,
miserable like companies. I come to be miserable with you on the airline there. No.
Well, put it this way.
Company.
I like the company, and if you were miserable, let me send you back to Susan. You go with her. I don't need no misery in my life. I got a lot. No. Good to see you, man. How are you?
The coastline was pretty nice, right?
You know, I'll be honest with you. I think we miss the opportunities that present themselves. We feel sometimes to appreciate how important it is. Dr. Jha was just sharing that we live in Cayman and we're always inside, air conditioned, but yet we have the beautiful sea. And as I was thinking more and more, when was the last time we went out there and had the waves against our skin, deliberately, feel the sun? And that's, what is it they call when they go to the dermatologist or to the spas and they put that thing, exfoliation? Is that? I mean, we can get that right there for pretty free. I mean, roll around in the sand for a bit. You never know what that might do for you. Just a thought.
Yeah. And when I go in the sea, I go fishing. So.
You go fishing? Well, I hope you go catching sometimes.
Yeah, catching.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on, and for those who are listening, we want to have them be part of the discussion. I think there's a lot that's happening globally with respect to the environmental considerations, but even here, and I didn't say what I said to inflame anybody, but if you drive along the West Bay Road, 7 Mile Beach, I don't think there are very many spots that you can look and actually see, the coastline. That's kind of disheartening.
And boy, it is what is happening now, and what they're allowing to happen. So,
I mean,
with investment, these things happen. So,
but then would you not think that with investment, that word alone, I'm sure it has a meaning, a connotation that you're doing something to make something better. That's what investment is, right? But if you're doing something, the outcome isn't better, what is that?
Yeah, but it just seems that more and more what we consider better in Cayman is to build a structure that is new, that is more modern and looks great. That is considered better. So if a huge home goes down, that's great. It does something for the economy, but it doesn't do a lot for the natural environment if we have development in those areas. So
what do we do then? What do we do?
I don't think there's anything we can do.
Is it too late?
What needs to be done? And I said this. I'm repeating myself every time we come on here because we have to get it into people's head. We have to have representatives that are thinking about our environment and are thinking about the future of Cayman. Not that they know someone that is wealthy that's going to build a big home. Yeah, but he's building a good big home there. That's going to be okay. And destroy the trees, destroy the mangroves, or what have you. Or a development that they're going to sell and we're going to get X amount of money. When those things get out of the door, then we'll be in a better place. But it's not out of the door because we seem to be fully dependent on investments like this.
You shared that we need the representatives, meaning the political director.
Yeah, we need
right?
Because they're the people who are making the laws.
Right.
They're the people who can make things happen through the departments, through the ministries. Or that's my understanding. And we can go out there and we can speak as much as we want.
Right.
How much of it will ever make a difference?
Through this discussion, let me ask you and invite the public for their sort of consideration.
No problem.
So we have the politicians, the people we elected, and we're saying, hey, you guys need to do this. But then let's look at two things. One, there is the civil service, so the technocrats who, under the Westminster model as we understand it, help to implement the policy that the politicians have put in place. Then you have the demands of the country, right? The citizens, not just the voters, but the citizens putting pressure. Well, we want more roads access this place. We want this, and this. So there's, for want of a better word, there's development, investment. And then you have the others. We would call it foreign direct investment, foreign investor, but even our own local investing sort of populace that would say, well, I would like to build a 100-story building here because that makes more money in this property. I would like to take this piece of land that right now just sits there and I get a couple of sticks of cassava. But boy, if I put this thing on it, it would be more money, more wealth generated. If you have those sort of three pressures on the politician, then the politician says, nope, we're going to, if I'm okay with this, right? I know it's in private hands, and I'm not trying to offend, but it's such a beautiful place. I've discovered it recently and didn't realize how beautiful it was. When I first saw it, it was poised to be a development. Now it's in undeveloped state somewhat, but for the wall, Barefoot Beach.
Yeah.
Man, listen, one fella said the only thing that is missing there, that needed to be moved from there and put somewhere else, but it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
But that's private, right?
Yeah.
Now,
well, private, but you got to clarify that, because I think it's well known that it's owned by DART as well.
Well,
and this is on the east end side of the island.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, instead of taking,
there we go again.
Yeah, I heard it alleged many times from sources that otherwise would seem credible, right? That there's a piece of property that the government owns, probably one of the last remaining nice little pieces of land on the North Sound in the Salt Creek area. Eventually, that'll be swapped, for Barkas or something. Why not swap Barefoot Beach instead? I mean, that has a high vista. It's a beautiful campsite. It would look like how it comes down. I mean, that would be better.
It's even crazy to even think about considering swapping. we need to start just preserving. But I guess we're in a position where hands are tied, right?
But why are our hands tied?
I don't know.
All right, so
money. It's all come down to money. And why I'm saying about the politicians is that we need to have, although you have these departments and what have you, in the protection of our environment does not stop at one department or one ministry. It has to be a global, has to be an all-around effort. And if you have leaders of our country being a part of that effort and saying, listen, I believe in preserving. I believe that these trees, these walkways, the old Cayman stone walls should be preserved. Then we're in a great direction for making those things become preserved. But if we don't, then where are we at?
So how do we get there? How do we do that?
I don't know. That is what people say. You got to come up with solutions. I don't know why we're not there, because we have a council. What do you call it? Conservation.
National
Conservation Council. We have a Department of Environment. We have all of these different committees or departments or councils or what have you, but yet we still have these issues. So I don't know. One can make that change.
So let me then ask then, and again, just trying to look at, you said, a global perspective, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a populace, the people, the population in your country is so naturally concerned that, we need to protect these things because we want it. But right now I can't pay my utilities. I don't know if I got a job. Food is becoming expensive. There are all these things that are genuinely not just immediate and urgent, but they're so important and crucial to their survival that, so what if we preserve this piece of land or this area? So if you have that going on, your house is, there's a fire in your backyard, but you got a nice fruit in the front yard, tree that you want to catch before it hits the ground, and you lose it. Which one are you going to pay attention to?
You're probably correct.
Right. So then, with that, what do we do to make sure that we're preserving those areas, but we're giving people the provisions that they need in order to be able to prosper?
Well, I can tell you what I think on my end that I've taken upon myself, and that is to take the effort upon myself as an individual, which other individuals should take it upon themselves, to think about conserving, think about preserving. I think about almost everything around you, because it's just not about plants.
No.
For me, it's about my conserving of my electricity, conserving of water. For me, it's about all of that. Rather than me sitting at my dishes and running the water while I'm there washing or whatever, I normally cut the water off, use what I need. wash up the dishes, then wash it off, and then I'm very I think about that, conscious about that.
Yeah.
Rather than me keeping my air condition at 60 degrees, 65 degrees, and you know, knowing that we're in this situation with gas prices, I then, you know, conserve by put my air conditioner at a higher temperature that I would consider more feasible, and then not using it if I don't have to use it. When I'm not in the room, I don't use it. But things like that. Yeah. And of course, I'm considerate of all the other things around, because all our trees do matter. Yeah. The more shade you have around your property, the better it is for your consumption, because less heat's going to be hitting your home, right? But more wind, things like that, maybe that I consider. So if everybody individually thinks about these things and get on that path of conserving, of being mindful of everything around you, and you know, if you're the guy cutting the trees, I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but you're the guy cutting the trees along the road, and you realize there's a nice sea grape tree there, or a nice June plum tree. That doesn't mean you should cut the tree down, right? We should probably think that you could probably leave. I'm just saying the things that kind of annoy me when I'm on the road, when I'm riding around and I saw a nice guinea tree or something today, and then tomorrow I go back and say, I go and get that, them guineas gonna soon be ripe, or them sea grape, and when I get there the tree's cut down. I'm like, shit, why is this happening?
Exactly.
Hey, all right. Great word work though, you know, cut it all out.
All right, let's pause, take a break. Sorry. When we come back, we talk more. The phone lines are available to us, so stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Subway is giving you flavor around the clock with the new Chicken Squad sandwich options. Try the classic chicken and bacon ranch, the sweet and savory barbecue chicken, or the chicken cordon bleu. 3 new appetizing and delicious sub options that you can also make into a wrap. The Chicken Squad is available at Subway for only a limited time. Subway, giving you something to cluck about.
The Workforce Opportunities and Residence Cayman, otherwise known as WORK, has their customer care team at the Cayman Brac office today until August 19th to assist customers in using WORK online services, including Jobs Cayman registration and portal payments. Applications may now be uploaded at the time of payment. This new feature offers better efficiency and a more concise way of submitting and paying for applications. Contact WORK Cayman Brac Customer Care at 244-4416 for more information on the training opportunities in Cayman Brac. Email work@gov.ky for assistance in using the payment portal, or visit www.worc.ky for payment instructions.
Beyond Basics Medical, leaders in laser and skin care of the Cayman Islands, providing advanced technology in skin, body, and hair, offering laser hair removal, vaginal tightening, threading, laser wrinkle reduction, hair loss restoration, hydrofacials, body and face slimming, vein therapy, laser tone correction, microneedling, high-frequency dermaplaning, medical peels, chirotherapy, skin tag, wart removal, and laser scar revision. Long-term and significant transformations and results for multiple concerns starts with contacting Beyond Basics Medical. Call us at 916-SKIN. Visit us on the 3rd floor of the Tomlinson Building above Tomlinson Furniture, or follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Beyond Basics Laser. The public are advised of the following road closure. The section of Cardinal Avenue between Albert Panton Street and Edward Street will be temporarily closed to traffic, projected to reopen at the end of August. As part of the Georgetown Revitalization Initiative, work is being carried out to transform Cardinal Avenue into a pedestrian-friendly street. For more information, members of the public can follow the Georgetown Revitalization Initiative on Facebook and Instagram at GT Revitalization.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks very much for joining us in the studio. Nobi sits with us, man. And it's not that we should ascribe labels to people, but as your ethos and as what you shared publicly, you're very much like our forefathers. And by that I mean, you know, the men and women who've gone before us. You love the environment. You're conservative in terms of, you know, let's make sure we conserve our resources, we protect our trees. Just the shade that we get, but the flora and the fauna, the birds, yeah, we can go about. And if they hadn't done what they did, their willingness at times to sacrifice, we wouldn't have some of the mango trees or the guinea trees or the grape trees or the spaces that we have. Yeah. So we got to thank them and thank people like you who have that same ethos.
I'm trying, you know. Just that I enjoy it, and I've been working on trying to, you know, make my environment pretty good, you know, over the years.
Right.
And, you know, that's one of the things I'm hoping and wishing that whenever this beautification committee gets to East End, that they think about, you know, preserving some of the real, you know, what's local.
Well, as you said that, I if it's okay, I want to commend. There's a wonderful team of volunteers in West Bay. You see, when it comes to East End, not going to get into how it's structured and how it's supposed to work, but I know that within East District and in the West Bay community, you know, there's an organization, an organized attempt, I say, and every couple of weeks we've gone out. I've been glad to go with them a few times now. It's amazing to see.
Well, I must say to you, and I will like, I'm assuming it's the same people.
Yeah.
I'd like to put my hats off to whoever had done most of the planting along that new highway that goes into West Bay. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, there's only one now.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who did that.
Yeah.
Right, but I went by the other day and I looked along the edge of that. There's a lot of guinea trees, tamarind trees, a whole bunch of things there that I was really impressed that somebody took the time to put in natural plants along there. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that makes sense. I've even saw some people walking, because this is where the experience comes in, Sterling, right? You get a person come here and they're walking that road, because it's a nice walking area. Say they're coming from the Kimpton, and they're walking that road, and there's a tamarind there, and they or a guinea or something, and they able to take it off the tree and taste it or whatever. That's an experience.
Yeah, man. There's signage to put what it is.
Right.
See, this is where, like, true experience, but also true travel, and maybe we can talk about that. But what I wanted to share, as you said, that you're talking about walking. It seems that you make an appeal, whether it's the police that makes the appeal, even His Excellency, the Governor was in one time, you know, he said, just be a little bit safer, considering the roads. It seems that then we as the drivers take that as, the response is, no, let's not be, you know, let's be the opposite. The people walking and riding and exercising, for us driving, let's be careful. The people out on, you know, whether it's Saturday morning or whenever, as we've seen with the beautification committee and the roadside cleanups, just Saturday alone, every car, I would say just about every car, you should never say there's no absolutes, every car, and the cars that are hired to as private transport, the buses and stuff, including those with people, they're going exceptionally fast on narrow roads, around corners, with people, women, children, people along the road doing cleanup. When are we going to be a little bit more, if you tell me this is improper, tell me, sensible, considerate, and just cautious?
Yeah.
It's appalling. I mean, a friend of mine said the other day, she's driving, and then a car just comes from, you know, out of nowhere and almost hits. We see people on the tail end. What are we doing? Why are we doing it that way?
We have a similar situation normally on Sundays in East End. Because we have so much people coming through. And I don't know if some people are aware of some of the speed limits and stuff, but we have we have a little bit of problem. I mean, I'm a person that believes in driving speed limit, or even a little bit above, right? Because going to East End from Georgetown, that's not an easy task. You take forever, and especially now with somebody going 35 miles an hour in a 50 mile zone, that just can't work. So I don't think it makes sense to drop the speed limit. People need to drive the speed limit, but where there's speed limits that are lower for a reason, they're there for a reason.
Follow them,
and we should follow them, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're driving, you see people running, walking, or riding.
Yeah.
Be careful. But then also too, if you're running, walking, or riding, be careful too. Don't be out in the middle of the road.
Yeah. Well, running or walking is easier to be careful because you go against the traffic. But when you are cycling, the traffic is behind you. I mean, I have a lot of things in place, like a radar and stuff on my bike when I'm riding, but still it's not 100%. You just know cars coming. You can know if 2 or 3 cars are coming, but you don't know if it's coming in your direction to hit you or not.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But you can actually move out of the way. You can go close to the side of the road or something.
But let's actually be mindful of the other road users. Cars of different sizes than yours. People, whether they're on a bike. And if you're on a motorbike or on a bicycle, you don't have the same level of, sort of enclosed protection that you would be in a car. And look at the injuries that we sustain in cars. Imagine a person on a bicycle or a motorbike.
Oh, yeah.
If they're impacted by a car.
Yeah.
Again, the answer has to be sensitivity, sensibleness, a bit of caution, and a little bit of consideration.
Yeah.
But I also want to, as you talk about the environment and the beautification and the like, ask our people, why is it that somehow the things that we have in our hands or in our cars are able to find their way into the bushes along the sides of the roads? I don't know, maybe they just come up with the ground. Why are we tossing stuff along the roads, man?
Well, I mean, I don't know. People still throw things out. I don't make that a habit. I don't do those kind of things. But I do think that things like a banana peel, it's not wrong for that to be, because that's biodegradable or what have you. But and probably even better for soil in some cases. But all other stuff that I've seen people throw in, you find out. Now the biggest problem we have on our side of the island is the dumping. And the dumping is very, very bad, because there's no satellite points for us to dump or garbage or leaves or anything like that on the eastern side. And they say they're working on it. It's been how long now? Been a while.
Well, there's a video. We'll look at it during the break. Won't be able to share it, but one of our listeners sent through a video of a neighbor and understanding the area and like how we'll look at the video together and comment on it after the news break. But I've seen other instances where people acquire property, people could use the word cut down, the grape trees and the cocoa plum, the coconut trees and all of the trees in order to build whatever they build in, whether it's a private home or a development.
Yeah.
And then some just exclude others without consideration. But if you look at that video, I'm wondering now, how do we make sure that not only do we plant things that are, sensible to plant, fruit bearing, but are environmentally sensitive, but also indigenous.
But again, there's a lot. My understanding is there's a lot that is there, put in place through the Department of Environment that talks about all those things, but no one's following it. Even if you try to report a situation to Department of Environment or one of those planning or one of those places, it's not a lot that they can do.
Well, maybe as we were sharing, there isn't consistency. We attack who we want because it's convenient, but we ignore who we want because some people can act with impunity. I just wonder if that's the case. All right, we got a news break, and when we come back, let's see what else we can stir and encourage and invite people. 949-8037, toll free at 1-800-534-8255. Let's see if the phones work. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. Police are investigating a serious assault that occurred Thursday, August 11th. It was reported that a man at an address on Shedden Road was approached by another man known to him who struck him with a machete, causing injuries to his arm. He was transported to the Cayman Islands Hospital by private vehicle, where he was treated for serious but non-life-threatening injuries. The suspect responsible fled the scene. In international news, China's decision to fire missiles over Taiwan must be contested, a top U.S. military commander has said. 7th Fleet Commander Vice Admiral Carl Thomas said otherwise such action by China would become the norm, calling it a gorilla in the room. Beijing held military drills around the self-governing island earlier this month, but did not confirm if any missiles passed directly over it. Tensions soared after U.S. politician Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan in August. New Zealand police are investigating after a family found human remains in suitcases they purchased from an auction at a storage facility. The occupants of a home in South Auckland made the grisly discovery after unpacking the purchased items at their residence. Police authorities are trying to identify the remains so they can establish the full circumstances behind the discovery. The family is believed not to have been involved in the incident. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
We wanna go and Bacayard, Caymanian and Jamaican cuisine. 7 Mile Beach might have changed, but Bacayard is bringing it back. True Caribbean food in the heart of 7 Mile, just like Mama's home cooking. Brown stew snapper, Cayman-style beef, jerk chicken, turtle stew, and the delicious list goes on. Dine in, take out, or order with the Bento app. Bacayard, Caymanian and Jamaican cuisine, 269 West Bay Road, or call 746-4603. Bacayard, daily lunch specials, and the one-of-a-kind Fun Day Sunday brunch. Bacayard.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Give us a shout, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261 as we speak into Sheen Nobi Edwards. And, as I was just reflecting on some of the comments you were sharing and thinking that if in the Cayman context, it would appear that a lot of us are conscious, aware of the need to be environmentally conscious, to be more conservative in our efforts in terms of running of water and using of electricity. And if I might, the Honourable Premier, just through the name of his ministry, through his comments, both publicly and sort of politically, seem to be championing environmental consciousness. So maybe that will be something that we'll see, not just as a greening of the economy, but a genuine approach to preservation and conservation.
Well, my apologies, but I haven't been seeing anything in the news or the media. Maybe I haven't been reading it. But at the end of the day, yes, before he even got elected, he was actually speaking about the environment. But it's more than that. You know, want to know that things can be done. I don't know. I guess just recently, I have to also give a little bit of credit to the Conservation Council, because they just asked people to make nominations of places that they would want to preserve, but I don't know what's happened yet.
Yeah.
So we're waiting on that, because there have been a submission for Collier's Pond and a couple other places.
Let me ask you, and this is just me doing things the way I like information, so I can make decisions. And you know, if you're doing an inventory of business, you look at all of the stuff on your shelves in your storeroom, so you know what you have. Maybe you itemize it. Maybe you consider the goods that you sell, that the expiry dates and the like, right? So with that in mind, having that sort of mindset, I wonder if the National Conservation Council, they receive submissions, should they not publish if there's one submission or there's 1,000 submissions? And some people will say, well, you get overwhelmed. No, we receive submissions on everything. This one got 5 submissions, this one got 5,000. Right? They don't need to say from whom, but at some point list them all, not just the ones that they've decided ranks as priority. Every single submission that they receive, they should be required to publish it. What do you think of that?
If we were ever, all these ministries were open, or all of these, you know, councils or whatever were open, that should be the case.
Okay.
But if you check their law might not have that as something that they could do or they should do. So they find a way not to publish it. But maybe no one has made that suggestion before.
Well, I'm making it now.
Sounds like a good suggestion.
That's a good suggestion?
Yeah,
okay.
I think
I'll make it now, because for me, what I think it'll do, it'll say, let's say the submissions were 500, and that may seem like a lot, but you received them anyway. You have to catalog them, so you said we receive, these are the submissions, and make it for the public to decide. This one got 1, this one got 1,000. And now you might say, well, we decided that A, B, C, D, or maybe 5, maybe 2. These are the ones we think are a priority, and then you justify why. It's being threatened by encroaching development. It's a property that we know is being actively pursued for whatever the thing is, right? And then what it looks at the public is, you have the information, you opted not to do anything, too bad. But if you don't know, but it could also get people thinking, hey, I didn't know about this little area. Maybe just a little small pond, for want of a better word, a little small body of water that everybody sees it and they go, you need to fill that in because that's a whatever. But it was important to one person, for whatever that reason is, that may resonate with somebody else and go, well, do you know?
I think there's a similar little pond in Windsor Park back there. I think there was something. I know that some of the people in the area were trying to protect a little pond there and there. So I'm just saying, like, you have a valid point.
Yeah, look at our property, the north of the Kimpton, where they had that Cabanza festival thing, whatever it was, right? Yeah. There was a pond there, saltwater pond, right, with nice snappers and nice fish. Now you couldn't see it being filled in. There were two, to my knowledge, very vocal people who called in and say, "Hey, this thing's being filled in," but too late now. It's filled in, right? Now maybe people like what we said, they're busy. Maybe people don't care because land needs to be developed in order to keep the economy going. Now, perhaps there are similar ponds like that, or similar little park-like settings, and it may be an acre or acres. It might only be 50 square feet. But if somebody has identified it, it may spark someone else to recognize it. It may encourage someone to say, you know what, there's actually a little area over here, the remains of a building, the little plot that was something. We get busy and we forget things, and only after the fact that we remember it, but it's too late then. So put it in the public domain and be conscious.
Well, public consultation should be done for a lot of things here, but it's not. It just depends on the board, right?
Right, but again, and I don't want to offend, because I think if you're a democracy, the power is in the hand of the populace, the voters, right?
Yeah.
If there's an invitation for public consultation, the public needs to participate. And granted, you cannot give, a moment's notice and then have it restricted. Fair enough. But if it's out there and an effort has been made to put it out there, as a public, you need to kind of take it up too. I mean, many of us don't.
Yeah.
And again, we're like, I don't have time to look at that, man. And then the way it was done, it was one of those half-hearted invitations, and in a way that you have no idea that it's really out there. So there's a balance, but then the public really needs to get involved.
Yeah, they do.
So then, is it that we are too easygoing? We don't want confrontation, despite the public consultation. We don't affront anybody, so we don't get involved. We need to. What's the issue there?
Boy.
Why?
You need to tell me. Like I said,
all right. Well, when I do,
I'm up in East End.
I can only imagine though. Some of you said just now that on Sunday, what was the quiet, space that we would all come to escape on East End. We all come in there now, so it might be not quiet but congested.
Yeah, well, no, it's not. It's not getting. It's good still for. You see, some of these things are good for businesses.
Yeah.
So, for example, all the people coming up to East End is great. They come in and they're supporting a lot of businesses like the Fish Fry, and all other places like, Miss Vivian's Kitchen and stuff. You can just see the difference, because some of the places only open now Thursday till Sunday, and they're closed the rest of the week because it just doesn't make sense to keep open. And that's because of the amount of people coming up there.
Right.
No, that's pretty good.
But flip that around,
to have those people there during the weekend.
Yeah.
On the other hand, what we have is we have a lot of tourists that are visiting that are used to having the conveniences of being in the U.S., where they can get anything anytime of the night. So if you close 3 days of the week, for some of those people, there's it's kind of inconvenient, right? So it's just, again, it's that balance is what are we trying to achieve?
Right. So let's take,
what can you achieve?
Yeah, let's take the country. Our portion of the people in the country are saying, too much development. Look at what we did with, Grand Cayman. Are we repeating it with the Bracken Little Cayman? Look at what we did with 7 Mile Beach. Just a constant hustle and bustle. So we're going to escape to North Side and East End, Cayman, Bracken Little Cayman. But over there, they're saying, Thursday through Sunday is only the commerce. Not enough people to sustain the business or the businesses, right?
Yeah.
And if you are...
But not all businesses, just certain.
No. Yeah. And if you want to replicate what you did, say, 7 Mile Beach and East End, are you going to repeat the same potential mistakes that you see now as a mistake? Overdevelopment, knock down buildings, too high construction. You see where we could go, repeat the same thing and cause the same concerns?
Well, I'm one of those people that are trying to be an advocate in that area of preserving East End. And I don't know how much it's going to work, because, I don't know if I'll be able to go and lie down in front of any backhoe of some sort.
Pretty big fella, man. I'm sure you could.
But, because here's what's going to happen, like what happened with the 7 Mile Beach.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people upset. I remember people calling on the radio, so upset about it. Well, when the day came for everybody to march, there was only a few people down there.
Yeah.
And that was really sad.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not going to go and put myself out, other than putting it out on my personal reason behind it to make my point. But I would never try to, sacrifice my life for something that is just a common cause.
Yeah. As we go into the 2:15 break, let me ask.
I'm not going to get support. Just put it that way. Yeah.
Hearing that, let me ask. We look at, to your point, our visitors come, and we, even those of us who live and work here, we want the convenience. What do you mean this place is open 24 hours a day? Why can't I go at this time? Some of us want that for whatever reason. So, is it then that we're not looking at who we're catering to in terms of it, and we're not communicating to our visitors? Listen, on this time of day or this particular day, this is what to expect in terms of what businesses will be open. I do not know it to be the case now, but I know, not that long ago in my mind, in certain parts of Europe, including Germany, right? Certain, I guess I call them supermarkets, certain businesses close at certain hours in certain days and didn't reopen, and that was the cultural value. That was what was known. And a fellow from this part of the world traveled to there and was surprised. What do you mean this time afternoon I can't get in there? No, they're going to be closed for the next X hours and it will reopen. That's how it works. So is that part of the challenge, that we're not sufficiently identifying what we're catering for, what we want to be, and so when the people come, right? Now, when we come back from the break, let's talk about that, and let's also ask about protection and preservation of resources, and maybe are there ones that we should be looking at? Cool.
Okay.
All right. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
The Workforce Opportunities and Residence Cayman, otherwise known as WORK, has their customer care team at the Cayman Brac office today until August 19th to assist customers in using WORK online services, including Jobs Cayman registration and portal payments. Applications may now be uploaded at the time of payment, and this new feature offers better efficiency and a more concise way of submitting and paying for applications. Contact Work Cayman Brac Customer Care at 244-4416 for more information on the training opportunities in Cayman Brac. Email worc@gov.ky for assistance in using the payment portal, or visit www.worc.ky for payment instructions.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Do you know that conditions may change suddenly in an emergency and you may have to leave at a moment's notice? When a hurricane threatens, you should have a grab-and-go survival kit. This kit should include your personal identification and other vital documents, which should be sealed in a watertight pouch or container. For more tips and information, visit the Hazard Management Cayman Islands office or caymanprepared.ky. This hurricane tip is brought to you by Hazard Management Cayman Islands and Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thanks very much for joining us. And thanks too to Sheen Nobi Birds for sitting with us. I asked a question during, as we're going into the break. And as I come back, I'm saying, are there particular areas in the Cayman Islands, but specifically in the Grand Cayman, from a conservation perspective, that we should be looking at, either that are, we got them sort of under some level of preservation, do we need to enhance it? Are there areas that we're not sufficiently looking at? Are there areas that we ignored completely? Any thoughts on your part?
Well, I don't know what the areas are that we ignored completely, because Cayman being so small, we were already aware of a lot of them. I'm particularly concerned about the blue iguanas, in that, they're constantly saying we want to keep them at the blue iguana recovery place, and they're passing away, they're dying in the wild, and not able to maintain. But I don't understand why this is one of our endemic species, and it has the environment, a certain area which is in East End, that is their natural environment. I believe more attention need to be paid on the environment that they live in,
right? Rather
than, and I believe that, because there were two that I usually used to see on my tour, and they've passed away, and there's a couple of things that happened nearby during the whole pandemic. Farm was cut down a lot of areas nearby the area that I saw them, and they usually used to burn the area there and stuff. So I don't know if that has affected them at all. I really don't know, because I don't know that much about the blue iguanas. But what I know about it is that I would like to see their natural environment preserved, because I believe that's where they live, and that if they're endemic to the Cayman Islands, they must have a niche area that they can live in and be comfortable.
Is that part of the problem then? That sometimes the people we hire, specifically, the people that are positioned publicly, don't really know as much as they say they know. They don't know as much as we think they know, and we don't hold them accountable. Wherever they are and whatever they're doing, we don't call them the resource.
Well, to be honest, I really don't know, especially with the blue iguanas.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking,
a lot of people have been saying they know all these things about blue iguanas, but if it's an endemic species, it has to be someone that is here in Cayman that know about it, that understands it, and watched it over the years. And I think Mr. Burton was one of those guys that have done that for many years. I've read a little bit of the little blue book about blue iguanas there, but I think a lot of the others, a lot of people that are there doing that as well are people who have come in. I would love to see more Caymanians in those roles supporting blue iguana recovery. Personally, that's just my hindsight, and I can get a lot of flack for this, but I mean straight up and honest. You can't have something that's endemic and know how much locals are on it.
So then
you can't tell me that only everybody is not from here wants to see it protected. I mean, I'm sure I want to see it protected, so there are other people that must want to see it protected and can work in the environment.
Let me then ask then, one, is it, again, this is not to offend anybody, right, but to cause us to question ourselves, right? Is it then that as people, like you just said, if you have something that is endemic, if our own people are not involved, then, but is it then we ourselves don't want to get involved for whatever reason?
Quite possible.
When we do get involved, people say, well, who you are, we value the thing from elsewhere, whatever that is. And the homemade food to me is a lot better than what they call the ready-made, the important stuff, right? I think why we gravitate to East End on the weekend so much, because we don't have time to make those same things at home.
Yeah. But then again, I just want to say this, because a lot of people may look at it and say, well, you're about this because you do a bicycle tour and you show people this. Yes, of course, but my impact is 10 people a day, the maximum. I'm not catering to the cruise ship, and I'm not doing all this other stuff. And the reason for that is that there has to be someone local doing this stuff. Other than that, what's going to happen in a couple of years? There are going to be other people doing it. Then people are going to question why that didn't happen, right? So at the end of the day, I'm trying to provide a local product. And not only that, it's just that I like it even if a guest or someone comes to the East End and sees a blue water or has a good experience with guineas and stuff. That doesn't just benefit me. That benefits everybody, right? So I'm just trying to preempt this because you gotta have people saying these different things, right?
Yeah.
We really need to have be consistent and have more of our local people involved in our conservation or protection of what we consider Cayman. And not that I'm against anybody else that doing what they're doing, but we need more people to be a part of that.
Shared responsibility, shared partnership. Yeah.
I don't go to all of these other things that people normally go to, but I do pay attention. And I do my own thing as well.
All right. Well, okay, so as you go through this, you share that as an individual, if I heard you correctly.
Yeah.
Earlier you said that as individuals, we need to consider our impact.
Yeah.
We're washing the dishes, how much water are we just running it?
Yeah.
We can do things that not only would save, hopefully, money, but more importantly, be conservative, save on the resource, protect the environment.
Yeah. Because this is what I looked at way back when. If I'm going to be, lazy or ignorant to the fact that my electricity costs me, and I sit here every day, I run my air condition all day when I'm not home, and I'm out and leave the air condition on, and don't pay attention to it, I end up with a $500 electricity bill. And you're going to keep on saying, my electricity is so high, it's so high. But from the time I started paying attention to my electricity consumption, my air condition, cut it off and don't have to use it all the time, that kind of stuff, keep it at a good temperature, I saved, right? And if I tell you how much I save, you'll laugh. But the point behind it is I'm not uncomfortable. It's just that I'm trying to be conscious of all of this. And it saves you that extra $300 that you would have spent in electricity. There's a lot of things you could find to spend it on.
And I'm glad you said that, because as we take this caller, some people have alleged that they'll do things to their minds that should reduce consumption of the water, the electricity, for instance. But instead, the increase still comes. But I'm glad that you said you make an effort and you can see the benefit.
Got to make the effort.
Let's take this call. Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Good afternoon.
I'm doing fine, thanks. And you guys all right?
Yes, sir. Good to hear from you.
Good. Yeah, I'm listening to your conversation there about the environment. When I see various things, I get so disappointed that here we are trying to conserve and preserve what we have, and nobody is really, if any, is very few that is listening to us. They had the jubilee about the tree planting. I had to laugh to myself with a sorrowful joke. Some people were planting trees while others were tearing down your vegetation by the hundreds, could be the thousands. We don't have a happy medium. It is so disheartening to see that nobody not only is not listening, but not paying attention to what's happening in a beautiful little island. When you're talking about the heat, I went to a family member house on Sunday, and they had quite a few trees in their back garden. I am telling you, the temperature there, it must have been probably at least probably 8 to 10 degrees cooler. I couldn't believe it. Whereas people are just building up the place with apartments and putting in little fringy landscaping, nothing of any significance in my view. And we do not have anybody with authority can say to the developer, look, we will call some shots. We will tell you what you can do and what you can't do on this property when it comes to the environment. Look at the amount of deep wells that we're putting into this island. Most of your fresh water is going so far down that you see your lawns and your plants is becoming now like places in California, right? Even in the rainy season, it is so fringy because the water is going so deep below the surface that the plants really don't stand a chance. And then they come with this artificial chlorinated water, which we consume as well. So I could say much more, but I know time is not on my side, but I'm listening keenly to you guys, and thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, sir. And Nobi?
Yeah. You know, he made some valid points. I think you know, that's what we were pointing out. If people start paying more attention to things, it would make things a lot better. You know, it was quite interesting. He's saying about the water going down so deep. I didn't ever think about that, but probably is one of the reasons why we're having a little bit of problems there with some of our plants. Because even in dry season, sometimes it's hard to water them, you know. But yeah, you know, we just need to get more involved, and you know, yeah, there's some people already there, but I feel like we need to get more of our local people on that level, right? More of our local people saying, we believe in conservation. We want to recycle. I don't really recycle right now, so I'll be honest with you. But you know, down the road from me, there are places where they have separation, which is great that the government has something there. I like that whole idea. But we need to catch it now, because it's only a matter of time that it will get out of hand. Right.
Well, I appreciate you reminding us. I mean, you said you repeated it, but it's worth repetition. Yeah. We're calling to not just for future generations, but conservation efforts for today's enjoyment is important. And we're seeing the impact that we're having. Perhaps we need to consider our consumption. We need to consider, you know, being more conservative. Hey, thanks very much, man.
No problem, man.
All right. Hey, Sheen Nobi Edwards, if you see him out, you know, he's a good guy. So thank you for making the drive down to us. Right?
I don't know how good I am.
Yeah. All right. Well, you think you are. Thanks again for joining us. Come back tomorrow morning. Join Mr. Art for the record. Always an enjoyable program. If you get a chance, you know, listen to every word that's shared. Man. He's always instructive, informative, and encouraging. Man. Good stuff to be had. Come back for Talk Today after the midday news and midday meditation. You've got a good thing in store with you relative to some of the government departments. Looking forward to that discussion tomorrow. Well, tonight's the night. Come on. I know you had picked the song Dragonfly by Ziggy Marley, but probably don't have that. But Susan will play something good for us, right, Susan?
Yeah.
I think she might play. No, I'm not say that one. Until tomorrow.
She got it under control, man.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.